get one shot at life. You don't get any do-overs. You don't get a chance to go back and relive it. But I may never ever have another chance to run another marathon, but I'll have a whole lifetime to look back and say I did it.
When I first thought of doing this, my self-esteem was really low, and I just had didn't feel mentally strong, and I didn't feel physically strong at all, and so looking back now, I realize that I feel really empowered now.
The thing about me is even 18 months ago, I was 330 pounds plus. Yeah, I hate to say that, but I was. And you tell people at work you run marathons, and of course they don't believe you. So I wound up losing the weight, and now they see the runner in me. I mean, now oh yeah, he's a runner. He's doing this race, he's doing that race.
I never had been called an athlete before. I was a trombone player in high school. You don't get called an athlete if you're a trombone player. I think the term is nerd. That hit it for me to feel like I was an athlete. That's why I do it. That's why I train.
When you're telling people who are non-runners what you're doing, or they ask you what you did this weekend, it's always funny. Or you're telling them, "Oh, I'm doing a marathon." They're like, "Oh, how long is this one?" And you're like, "Well, this one is 26.2 miles, just like all the other ones." And so you have to, you kind of have sometimes are a little sarcastic, and you want to say, "Come on," but people aren't in your little subculture, so you kind of tell them why you're doing it, what it is, and you try to get them interested into it.
Marathoning is more than just going out and running for 26.2 miles. It begins with training that is many, many hours and many miles of running with friends, running alone, running when it's hot, running when it's cold, when it's raining, when you're tired, spending hours and hours and really burdening your friends and family with this obsession that you've got. And then as it begins to get closer, the realization for the runner that this big challenge is ahead of you, and it's a big challenge. And as you approach race day, the excitement begins to build and the anticipation that it's finally coming, and all these hours and all these miles of work are behind you. Now you get to finally put it to work. You finally get to put yourself to the test.
At the starting line of this race, I will have to go to my happy place and dig deep and be tranquil and be grounded and not let other people's buzzing and emotions get to me.
But I get really emotional in crowds and a lot of energy from being around a lot of people, and so I think at the starting line I'll probably be emotional and will probably tear up, maybe even cry.
5 seconds. Runners, to your mark! You're off and running for the 2008 AT&T Austin Marathon! Looking good, looking good.
I came into running for the second time in my life because of a near-death experience with bad diet, and really did terrible things to my body and nearly killed me. So once I got everything taken care of and got fixed back up, the doctor said I was fine, I was good to go back to my old ways. And my mother just happened to be with me, and she said, "Or you can watch your kids grow up." And that really struck home. And I said, you know what, if you do want to live past 50, past 45, whatever, maybe you better do something about it. So I decided I was going to run.
I've been very careful in the past about being open about the particular medical condition that I have. I do have multiple sclerosis. It is a neurological condition. I do have some specific challenges, but I didn't want to be labeled as someone with multiple sclerosis. I didn't want to let it define me, and I pay attention to it when I have to, because I do have to take a lot of medications. I do have to pay attention, but for the most part, I do a lot of things in spite of it. I do it because I can, and because there's so many that have the condition that I have that aren't able to. I do it for them too.
For me, it's kind of special to come back to Austin. I did 18 marathons last year, and so I've gone to a bunch of different states, and you wind up, but Austin is home, so you really want to do good at your home course, and the weather usually smiles on us. And so for me, I'm hoping that it'll be my first, I'm hoping to break 3 hours. I'm hoping it'll be a completely emotional finish for me this time. And if not, I'll do another one in a couple weeks and go for it again. But
For me, crossing the finish line will be an exclamation point at the end of a very long year. I was training for last year's marathon and got to the 20-mile run, and the next day I found out I had breast cancer. And so I had to switch my focus from running a marathon to decisions involved with breast cancer. And so this past year, I had a lumpectomy. Then the weekend of the marathon, I had a double mastectomy. Then I had reconstruction surgeries throughout the year. So as soon as my last reconstruction surgery was over, I started training again for this marathon. So there's been no perceivable difference between the cancer and training for a marathon. So that's why this will be the exclamation point for me.
The day after the marathon, I think that, I'll probably still be on kind of an emotional high from the marathon, and I think I'll just have a really profound sense of accomplishment and just realizing that all my hard work and all the ups and downs that I had throughout the marathon, and I actually did cross the finish line, is just going to be a wonderful feeling. And I think that I'll feel a little bit like I can do anything. I think that some of those other ideas that I used to have, the big ideas in my life, my big plans, might not seem so daunting after all, since I can run 26.2 miles in one day. So I think that's going to be the biggest difference, is just feeling a new sense of what I can and what I can accomplish.
There comes a point in the race where the ritual becomes real. You're now going through the experience of what you've spent months and months training for. Of course, reaching the finish line is the culmination, and having the medal around your neck is sort of the coronation of you becoming a marathoner or finishing a marathon. It's because it represents sort of the crowning accomplishment of what they have spent, not just a few hours trying to achieve in the race itself, but the weeks and the months leading up to the race itself. That medal that they wear around their neck, or the finisher shirt that they wear with pride for the weeks and months after the race, represents an accomplishment. I have done something that many, many people on this earth will never do.